it's me again, Hopeless Romantic, and I'm back with another video. I'm having a glass of rosé right now. Firstly, because I'm grown. Secondly, because I feel like we have so much to celebrate, right? Like, I turned 30 years old just a couple weeks ago on December 3rd. Thank you, please, you're far too kind. And we are exiting a decade. I've been doing a lot of reflections in general, just knowing that I was approaching 30. I wanted to be very reflective because I did want to do things differently in this next decade. You know, people hype up a new year or a new birthday or whatever, and sometimes people are like, well, why do you have to wait for a new year or a new decade or a new whatever to make changes? And it's like, I don't have to wait for it, but when it gets here, I want it to be different. Excuse me. Yes. So this video is a little bit different. So a lot of times when you have like a milestone birthday or a big accomplishment or any kind of, when you're in any kind of reflective space, people ask you stuff like, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self? I want to put a little spin on the idea that I have things to tell my younger self, which I would, but I feel like my younger self has a lot to say to me now. And this came from a dream that I had. I believe that God speaks to us in ways that we will hear and understand. And I had a dream once where I was holding a baby, and then I was like walking through, I don't know if it was an airport or a park, but I was walking through, it was a place and there was a lot of people around. And then I would look down and the baby would be gone. And then the baby wasn't an infant, it was like a 2-year-old, 2 or 3-year-old. And the baby would be gone, and then I would be like frantically searching for this child. I don't know whose child this was. I don't recall recognizing the face of the child. I don't recall feeling like, you know how sometimes in dreams you don't really, the person may not look like somebody, but you feel like they are somebody you know or whatever. I don't recall feeling like this was my kid or anyone I was related to, just a child that I was responsible for or whatever. And I was holding the kid, and then I would lose the kid, and then I would frantically search for the kid and find it again, and then be walking through this wherever I am trying to get where I was going, and then I would lose the kid again, and then be frantically searching for it. And this went on through the entire dream, and I woke up super frustrated and confused, like, what is going on? And one of my friends told me, like, I think I tweeted about it, and one of my friends was like, you know, maybe this is symbolizing that there are parts of your childlikeness or your childishness or your childhood self that you are abandoning, that you need, like things from your childhood or parts of your personality as a child that you're neglecting. And it was so crazy because at the time I was kind of feeling like, you know, what's going on with me? I feel kind of in a funk. I feel like, you know, my life is just boring and lame, and like I didn't really know how to fix it or what to do or anything. I just felt kind of lost and aimless, and I thought about it for the rest of the year. I think someone told me that in like March of this year, and I thought about it for the remainder of the year, because if that is what God was telling me, I want that back. Like, I want to be like myself as a child. And you know, as you grow up, you go through a lot of things, you experience a lot of stuff, some things good, some things bad, but some of those things really changes you, and you don't always intend for it to change you in negative ways, and you don't always know what ways are negative and which ways are positive. And so I think just as I was growing and maturing, there were some things that I felt like I needed to leave behind in order to grow up. But I think I also left some essential things behind that I'm going to need. My little girl self, you know, she kind of had the right idea on a lot of things. And so I thought about myself as a child and thought about what my little girl self would tell me. And I wanted to share some of those lessons with you guys. Another question I've seen on the internet before is, what would your younger self think of yourself now? Honestly, my little girl self, like little Imani, would be so impressed with adult Imani. Like, I'm living on my own, like I'm 30, like it's not far-fetched that I would be living on my own, but like as a little girl, that was something that I thought was really cool, like having your own apartment. cooking your own meals, like going to work and stuff like that. Mind you, going to work now, I'm not impressed at all. But little girl Imani would be very, very impressed by the fact that I have a full-time job and that, you know, I have degrees and accolades. She would also think it is extremely impressive that I have an afro one, because I had a relaxer from a very early age, but I always thought afros were cool. And so she'd be really proud of me for having an afro and like having really cool hair and working with some brands that as a child I already knew. Like, I worked with Luster's Pink. That was one of the first big brands that I worked with as a hair enthusiast, and my little girl self would think it was amazing that I was on some of their marketing materials, and that, you know, my friends would be going to conferences and stuff and see that Luster's Pink was a vendor and that I was on the big billboard thing, or that I was in a magazine shoot. Like, these are things that I would have found really cool as a kid. So taking the time to think about that and say to myself, like, you really are living some of your dreams. Like, maybe some of the dreams that you developed as an adult haven't quite materialized yet, but as a kid, you had dreams that you thought were huge, right? And some of those dreams you have achieved. I just want to encourage us all to think about that.
Thanks for checking out the first installment of this video series. Make sure you follow or subscribe so you don't miss part 2.